NBA teams tanking. So Adam Silver, there was, he's trying to crack down on some of these teams that are tanking. So obviously during the All-Star break he does a press conference there where he talks about teams and just the league overall, right? Coming out with new ideas, cool stuff for VR and shit. But this was really a big thing that came out on February 14th. Saturday, Adam Silver said that tanking has been worse this year than we've seen in recent memory. And he is considering every possible remedy, including taking away draft picks, to stop the type of overt behaviors he fined the Utah Jazz and Indiana Pacers for this week. So he fined the Utah Jazz $500,000, and then he also fined the Pacers $100,000. Now, if I can find specifically why he fined them immediately, that'll be fucking fantastic. But basically, it was for types of roster management moves that they made with throughout like the last week or two. So basically, he's insinuating that they are purposely not playing guys who can help them win games because they don't want to win games because they're shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, listen, we don't got to be rocket scientists to kind of understand that this is like commonplace in sports.
Yeah.
It's very look, the team won't admit it because if you admit it, you're doing something wrong. But if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's good old Bill Belichick, Tom Brady line. Okay? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And these teams, right, they are going to try to get every advantage that they can take into getting a better player, right? We've seen this in football, basketball, baseball. Is baseball the same? I don't know. Baseball might be a little different. Draft system's a bit trickier. But typically, if you're a shit team, you have better odds at the lottery, right? In every single all these sports, there is a lottery system, or it's the worst team for that year. You get the number one overall pick. Every single team in a sport will do this at some point, probably. The Giants, I've been clamoring for them to tank. I'm not in the organization, so I have no pull, no cachet, so they can't find me. Okay? But once they feel like it comes from an organizational standpoint, then they're like, all right, this is some fucking bullshit. You can't do that. Keep integrity of the league. So, like, I just want to kind of get your thoughts on how do you feel about this whole, thing. And also there is another quote. He said, if teams are manipulating their performance in order to get higher draft picks, even in the lottery, then the question becomes, are they really the worst performing teams?
I'll say this, right? I think the problem for me is that a lot of these teams, like the Utah Jazz, like the Brooklyn Nets, like the New Orleans Pelicans, right? They always seem to be in the position of bottom three, bottom five in terms of draft picks, right? In terms of lottery picks, right? And I think the problem is that we're not seeing growth from those teams, right? We're not seeing the young players being developed. I'm not saying that, the problem is the players, the problem is, the staff. Some players don't work out, that's fine. But when we're going on 5+ years of teams that still suck, it's not supposed to work like that. You have to, I think a great example is the Thunder, right? A progressive and steady buildup of talent to get to that next level and to get out of that top five in terms of draft lottery, right? The Orlando Magic, right? Another example. Steadily accumulating young players to build a great franchise team, right? The Toronto Raptors this year, slowly building young players to get better. That's what you're supposed to do. That's a sign of a healthy league. When your teams are slowly growing and your top teams are growing down, right? That's a sign of a healthy league. That's what's supposed to be happening. Well, you have some teams in the NBA where you're not seeing that. You're not seeing that growth. You're not seeing that progression. Utah, Memphis, New Orleans, Brooklyn, Washington. These haven't been playoff teams in a long time, and I'm not counting the play-in. Like legitimate playoff teams, or at least in the hunt for it, at least sniffing that kind of last spot. I get New Orleans was in there last year, but still, to me, that's the bigger, because you don't see in the NHL, you don't see a continuous team, suck. They get better. They grow. They know they can't stand by and be the worst team in the league, right? You don't see it in MLB. MLB is a little bit different. I understand that, money and stuff like that. But it's very rare you see a team, suck for a long time, unless you're the Pirates or the White Sox. But teams steadily know how to grow players, and they know how to draft, and they are able to accumulate young talent, trading their best players for younger talent to eventually get better down the line. What did Utah do this trade deadline to make themselves better down the line? What did Washington do to make themselves better down the line? I get the trade for Trae Young. Is he playing? I get the trade for Anthony Davis. Is he playing? What are they doing?
The Jazz traded for Jaren Jackson Jr. Played like 3 games.
Shut him down.
Got hurt.
Shut him down for the whole year.
He tore something in his ankle, and he needs surgery, and he's cooked. So
the Brooklyn Nets had, 4 first-round picks last year? None of them hit? And I get it, last year's draft wasn't that deep, but you mean to tell me you couldn't find one talent there to build around? I'm not saying there's a conspiracy, because I don't think that, but I do think there is a problem with teams incentivizing winning and incentivizing, losing, right? I think there's a problem in that teams are okay with it. Teams are still waiting for that player, the next LeBron, the next Jordan, the next whatever coming out. And the fact of the matter is, even if they don't get it, we'll try again next year. Fuck it. Try again next year. What's going to hurt us if we suck again? Utah doesn't draw a lot of fans. They're probably very dedicated, but that's not an NBA hot market city. Brooklyn, I get it, it's New York, but it's still the second team here. And those ticket prices aren't that, those ticket prices aren't that bad. Right? They're pretty cheap. I can't speak into, New Orleans, but that arena looks pretty empty to me sometimes. So Washington looks pretty empty to me. And when Washington was good, that place was bouncing. When they had John Wall and Bradley Beal, a young Bradley Beal, and Paul Pierce. That place was bouncing. I'm not saying those fans aren't there, but clearly the NBA is not caring enough for these teams and their revenue from these teams to justify them losing for this long. Right? Clearly they're still being okay with these teams not generating revenue. Because again, salary cap is salary cap. They meet standards. They get over the salary floor. Right? But still, these teams are okay with eating it. They're okay with, being the third sport in the city. Being the second sport in the city. And moving on. When the Knicks were bad, the Knicks were still selling out. And that's legacy. That's whatever. But the Knicks knew they had to be better. So what'd they do? They rolled out with Carmelo. They never traded Carmelo. Carmelo never sat any games. They tried with, Tyson Chandler and Amar'e Stoudemire. They tried. They spent the money. Didn't work. That's fine. And it sucked again for another 2-3 years. And they got young players. And they traded these young players for greater players and better players and cap space. That's working to make yourself better. Utah, New Orleans, Brooklyn, Indiana. Indiana, I will exclude this year because Indiana has built a really good young core, a really good young team. I don't mind it. But Washington, what have they done to get better? Looking at them from an objective point of view, and looking at them from the outside looking in, as an organization, where is the future? Where is the winning coming from? They're probably going to suck next year, the year after that, and the year after that. Because they're not spending the money. Nobody wants to go play there. Nobody's watching them. And nobody is being developed. So I think it could be a tanking problem. I think it could be a team's not caring problem. I think it could be the NBA finally maybe starting to care. But I think it's a bit more broader than teams are tanking because they're bad. I think teams are tanking because they can't develop talent and they can't sell their ticket and they don't care to sell their ticket. That to me is the problem.
First off, you cooked. There's like a lot of quotes with this Adam Silver article, and he's talking about air leaving my fucking body. He's talking about how the All-Star game's 75 years old, and this league is 80 years old. We gotta look for new, fresh things to kind of take a look at to see if we could get better at what we're doing, right? And he talks about how the short-term incentive that teams have to lose games to get better draft position potentially, and potentially get up into that top 3, that top 2, that number 1 pick, right? And also talking about the long-term best interests of the league, right? These teams tanking, it's not really good for the league. It's good for the individual team itself because, higher draft position means better chances at trying to get a better player. But in terms for the league, you are a fucking bottom feeder. You're awful. You're not going to be anything. You're not selling tickets. Nobody wants to watch you. And in turn, nobody wants to play there. Unless you get a number 1 overall pick who is just a phenom. And then people try to want to play with them. But even then, we see that doesn't work. Where was genuinely the last time we saw somebody go to another team because they had a young star there? I'll wait. Doesn't happen. It takes about 3 to 4 years to 5 years for stars to really get established. And I haven't seen these people clamoring to be with young talent. Maybe the last guy, LeBron, and that was with Kyrie, who was young, but he still tried to bring in veteran guys. It wasn't just him and Kyrie. He tried to bring in K-Love. He tried to bring in guys off the bench. He tried to bring D-Wade, Derrick Rose, and bring the whole fucking banana boat. He tried to bring in those guys because he can't trust those young guys. So the thing is, even if you get these young players, ain't nobody finna fucking play with you. You're not established. So these teams thinking, oh, we're gonna get some good guys in free agency because we got a young team. They don't really want to be there. And I think a prime example is Washington. Ain't nobody want to play there. You traded for them, but they know that you are going to pay them. That's why.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? I was like, let me look up a team's record real quick because I want to see it was the last time they were actually good. What's the team I picked?
Wizards.
Washington. So I'm going to read to you the 2027, 2028 season, right? It was their last season where they had a winning record, a record above 500.
Oh, 2017, 2018?
Yeah, 2017, 2018. So they were 43-39. They lost in the conference final round 1. From then on, 32-50, 25-47, 34-38, 35-47, 35-47, 15-67, 18-64, and currently 14-39. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 9 years since they had a winning record. And we're above 500.
Honestly, not a tanking issue.
You want to play the game? Let's go Utah. Let's play the game again.
I don't think it's a tanking issue. I think nobody wants to play there, and the organization sucks. Nobody wants to play there. They don't have talent. They don't have that talent. And even if they get low draft picks, still ain't working.
Utah, since 2021-2020, this was the last year of Donovan Mitchell, I think, right? And even with Donovan Mitchell, right? 49-33, 2021 season. 37-45, 31-51, 17-65, 18-38 this year. So that's 4 years in a row that they have been under 500. Yeah. And who have they drafted to make it better? Ace Bailey. What did they recruit from Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert? I don't know. Where is the payoff?
There is none.
Let's play it again one more time. Let's look at the New Orleans Pelicans.
Oh gosh, this is the worst one. This is gonna be bad. Whew. When was the last time they were good? Jeez, it's a long time since they were good.
The last time the Pelicans were above 500 was actually 2022-2023 season. They were 42 and 40. They were 49-33 last year. They lost in the conference final round 1.
Okay, Jay.
Since then, they were 21-61 and 15-41 this year. Before that, they were 42 and 40, 36 and 46, 31 and 41, 30 and 42, 33 and 49, and 48 and 34. That was a 2027. So, out of the 7 years that they have been in the past 7 years, they've been above 500 3 times, which isn't saying much. It really isn't when you think about it. I get it; they were above 500 in 2023 and 2022. But when you have been good for 3 out of 7 years, with a sizable gap, and this year you're shit,
real bad.
Where is the consistency?
There is none.
And the West this year ain't that hot. The West, Memphis 20-33, Dallas 19-35, Utah 18-38, New Orleans 15-41, Sacramento 12-44. And Sacramento as an organization thing, they did some dumb shit this offseason. I don't blame them. The Clippers as the 10 seed 26-28, Portland 27-29, Golden State as the 8 seed 29-26, Phoenix as the 7 seed 32-23. I get it. It's cool, right? When you're bottom of the league, you're shit. Yeah. This is a race between 10th and 7th. The East is a race between, 12th and 15th. The Bucks have 23 wins. Brooklyn has 15. Indiana has 15. Washington has 15.
You know what's funny with this playing shit?
Oh, 14.
They still have a chance. And, I like it that teams, if you get to a certain threshold, you have a chance to make playoffs. Or, if you get hot at the right time. But at one point, I don't like that shit. No. You know what I mean? No. You shouldn't have if you're not that seed, you should not have that opportunity. You shouldn't. You're not that seed. You're not.
And you know what it is too, because it's topical? They implemented it because of tanking, right? To encourage teams, to maybe sign more players, to maybe, trade for a better player, to maybe say, you know what? Why not?
Yeah, not
Let's
tank their
go
whole
for the
fucking
7th seed.
team at a trade deadline like the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
Awful organization.
And you know what's funny? The Bulls? The Bulls are where are they? They're 11th. They're 2 games out of that play-in. So is it my thing is I think I get it if a team was on the cusp, but they're on the cusp, right? If you're the 8 or 9 seed, I get it. But if you do top 8 again, what's the difference? We're getting rid of 2 teams. So what? Why did we need to add a 9 and 10 seed? To me, that's not negating tanking. You still have majority of your league who doesn't think they're a playoff team, and they're not. Objectively, they're not, right? I mean, my problem here too, Lewis, real quick. Let's take a look at the 7 through 10 in the East. Orlando, Miami, Charlotte, and Atlanta. Charlotte's a cool story. Are they beating Detroit, Boston, New York, or Cleveland in the first round?
Hell no.
Okay. Is Atlanta beating Detroit, Boston, New York, Cleveland in the first round?
No.
Is Orlando, maybe beating Detroit, Boston, Cleveland in the first round? Possibly.
Could
be. The 7 seed. You see how it works. The 8 seed, Miami. Miami has an 8 seed. That's scary. So we have legitimate threats, but then as you go further down the list, those threats become minimal. And I get it. It'd be cool to see Charlotte in a playoff series. It'd be cool to see Atlanta in a playoff series. I get that. But at the end of the day, are they going to be legit threats?
So there's a thing where, like, even in the NFL, you don't want to be, like, in the middle. You either want to be really bad or you want to be really good. You don't want to be picking, like, 17 or, like, 16, 15, 14. You don't want to pick there because that means you're just not bad enough to get the top 10 pick. Burrows were not good enough to be fucking picking last.
But
You're just not.
but
You're
but I feel like the argument for the NFL is teams that pick 16, 15, 14, whatever, is that you're close, that you're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you were close last year. Maybe we're a piece or two away. Maybe we had a key injury here and there. In the NBA, if you're picking 13th, 14th, 15th, you may as well just throw away the pick. What's the point? And that's the problem. Those teams don't even feel like they're close. They're not matching the level of, Detroit, New York, OKC, San Antonio, Denver, whatever. Those teams feel like they're a couple pieces away, but they don't do anything to negate it. And I get why. They don't have the cap space, whatever it is. But then it even hurts your bottom feeder teams that say you're picking 8th, 9th, or 10th. You're picking in the top 10. You really want that pick?
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, I'm looking at these NBA drafts over the last, like, 5 years. The 8th, 9th, and 10th pick, from, like, 8 to, like, 15, I'm like, these guys fucking still suck. None of these guys have any, like, obviously, right, it takes time to develop, and I'm seeing it takes these guys at least 4 years to really start hitting their stride. These teams don't got fucking time for that. They don't got fucking time. They don't.
I think maybe, and I'm not saying this is the problem, but maybe it could be a possible solution. Maybe we get rid of the one and done. Maybe we do what the NFL does. 2-3 years. Develop, learn an NBA offense. Get stronger, get older, get more experience. Don't come into the league when you're 18, 19 years old and you're surrounded by men and you have the pressure of the world on you. Clearly that hasn't worked. Clearly, unless you're LeBron or Jordan. Who was the first overall pick last year?
Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag, right? Second overall pick, Alex Sarr. Where is he? What has he done?
Oh, Alex Sarr, he wasn't drafted this year. He was drafted like a couple
he went second overall. Well, he went second overall.
He was third overall, like, not this year, but the year before that.
The year before that,
this
right?
Is second or third year, one of those years.
Who's second overall pick this year?
Let's look it up. Cooper Flag draft.
I know Ace Bailey went 4. Dylan Harper went 2.
Yes, Dylan
Good
Harper.
young player.
Good young player.
But San Antonio doesn't need to play him. They have a team. They traded.
A really good team.
They traded for De'Aaron Fox.
And
why?
They were bad that year too. They were bad.
And they were bad then. They built something. And I get it, they have a unicorn. But this can't be because we get the first overall pick one year, we get a unicorn, now we feel like we can go for it. It doesn't work like that. Because not every year you're going to draft a unicorn. You're not going to draft a Wembanyama every year. You're not going to draft a LeBron. You're not going to draft a Jordan. These guys come once in a generation. Literally. So if you're a team drafting first overall, you're expecting to get generational talent, more than likely it's not going to happen. So what is the backup plan? How are we going to get better? Are we going to develop? Are we going to accumulate assets? Are we going to try to, sign free agents? And I get it. Nobody wants to live in Utah. Nobody wants to go to Washington. Nobody wants to go to, Brooklyn. I get it. But what are we doing to make ourselves more attractive? Because clearly, draft picks and young players ain't it. And if you need time and these players are not ready, why are we drafting them? Is the draft pool so bad that there's nobody else who's NBA ready? Seriously?
No. It's rare to find those NBA ready. Like, a lot of these guys, they need that time to cook. Like, this draft, it's a bit different with this last draft. There's a good amount of players, but boy, every draft is not built like this. No. There are some years
Look at 2020. Look at 2024, 2023, 2020, 2020. I mean, like, Zion's draft was loaded.
I'm not gonna lie, Ron
But
Holland, 5th overall pick. He hadn't done shit. To Janji Saloon, 6th overall pick. Who is that?
this is
Rob
also the point,
Dillingham.
right?
Rob Dillingham. What has he done?
But this is the
Cody Williams.
point, right?
Nikola Topic, Devin Carter, Dalton Connect even at 17 is an awful pick. Tristan Da Silva at 18 is an awful pick. Right? Jalen Tyson at 20 is one of the best players in this draft, and you got him at 20, right? Good find, good steal.
But at 20, what are we doing in the scouting room? The fall off from 1, 2, and 3 is so massive.
And even Zachary Versace at number 1 last year.
I get it. The argument is the argument. You're not gonna hit every draft. You're not gonna. A pick is as a chance. It's a gamble. Whatever. But when you have multiple years where you're drafting in the top 3, top 4, top 5, and you're still shit, what is the issue? I think it's more than tanking. I agree with that. I think to a degree it's the organizational failure to develop. I understand that. But what are we doing to get better in that regard? Are we looking in ourselves and saying, you know what, guys? We're just not good. We have to change this. I want to win. I want to win an NBA title. I want to be in the playoffs. How are we fixing this? I don't see it. I don't see it in Washington. I don't see it in Brooklyn. I don't see it in Utah. I don't see it in New Orleans. It's been relatively the same teams for God knows how many years. And they're still shit. With the occasional sprinkle of a decent young talent who will probably end up trading in a couple years. Because we can't build around him.
I don't know. NBA, man, it's what are you gonna do?
I mean, even to a degree, look at Charlotte. What the fuck is going on over there? How many young players do you need to not work out? And I get it. It's a cool story. Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball,
Miles Bridges.
That white guy, Con Knuppel.
Yo, Con Knuppel's nice.
He's nice, right? But they've developed a nice young core, but it took you, what, 15 years to get there? When did you draft LaMelo Ball? When did you draft Miles Bridges?
It took him a little bit to get there.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it shouldn't take you this long. Yeah. A team should quote-unquote tank for 2 to 3 years. And I'm talking like
bottom feeder.
5.
Bottom.
Yeah, like bottom 5. That should be your tanking phase. After that 4th year, you should be looking at, maybe a 6 or 7 seed, possibly a 5th seed. And the year after that, maybe we get into the top 3. You should be good after 2 or 3 years. It shouldn't take you 8. It shouldn't take you 5.
Even with the players that they have, some of these players, man, they get traded too early. The team just and this is the thing, these players in the NBA, I've noticed, they need way more time to sit in the pot and cook than other players in other leagues, right? They just need to sit. They need to learn. They need to know how to be a good NBA player. They just don't know how to yet. And the fact that you're not getting that, you're not getting a guy who could come in and efficiently be a part of an offense or a defense at the 3rd overall pick sometimes or the 4th overall pick, that's a fucking problem. It's a big problem. And the fact that you can't develop that, you can't bring that and develop that, that's horrific. And I think more so for this tanking, it falls on the organizations mostly because they're the ones in charge of who's playing, who's coaching, who we're paying, who we're building this roster around. and ultimately the decisions whether to try and win or lose. It's organizations.
And
These owners, they don't want to fucking win. They don't have time, but they don't also want to put in the time. They don't have time, but you can't just fucking come in here and expect in a year or two you be fucking good. You gotta fucking take some time. You gotta cook, and you gotta be smart. OKC, for example, smart. They were fucking piss poor. They were bad. And then there were some years where, you know what, they built up some team. They started overachieving. They started playing well. But then they traded smart. They had draft picks. They had great traits to get Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They hit on a lot of their draft pick. Their scouting room is really good. They traded for guys who were top 10 picks, by the way, and got them. And now they're a good, efficient part of the team, and they won a championship because of that. I get it. Not every team could be competent like that. But boy, oh boy, you want some level of something. You want something.
Yeah. You shouldn't be bottom 15. You should be at least pushing, I guess, the 8th, 7th seed in the play-in. I guess. I'll accept that. But when you're still shit, it's a problem. And I do want to say before we go, I don't want to completely, not exempt the players. I think the players also have a part of it too, and especially the young players coming in. I don't think there's a care to want to be like the savior. Cooper Flagg is different. Cooper Flagg has that mentality. You see it. He wants to be great. He wants, he puts himself out there, and he's NBA ready. I'll say that. He's NBA ready. A lot of these guys aren't. And I think the problem is that you're going from college, where you win a lot, where you're all the star player, where you're treated and media gets on you and you are, the guy. And you come to the NBA and you're going to Utah. I know you don't want to be in Utah. You want to be in Washington. But guess what, buddy? You're going to lose. So how are you going to fix that? Are you going to put in the effort? Are you going to try to galvanize the team around you? I get it. Nobody's Kobe. Nobody's Jordan. But you got to at least show me something. Some care, some passion, some fire in your locker room, in your media conferences. Some of these guys, I don't hear that from them. I don't see that from them. I don't. I think part of it is just, it's NIL. It's the fact they're getting a fat stack of money really early on, really young. And I get it, they're 19, 20. You're throwing a ton of expectations on them to be great right away. But I think the one and done, you're 18, 19 years old, you should not be responsible for saving an NBA yet. You need more time in college. You need more time to work. If Paige Beckers, right? If Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, if they didn't, develop and understand and get notarized in college, and they went to the NBA or WNBA their first, second year, are they this good? I don't know. But I don't think so. I think those extra years spent in college helped them. It made them better players. I think NFL players who spend an extra 2 to 3 years in college makes them better players. I think NHL players who get drafted at 18 but still go back to college for 2 years, who play in the juniors for 2 years, and you're not allowed to play in the NHL until you're 20. And if you are ready to play now, you're probably great. That's the standard. MLB, you're in the minors for God knows how long. You could be there for 10 years. So why is it different in the NBA that you need to be ready right now? That you need to come out of high school and be an NBA team? That to me doesn't make any sense. That you need to be 1 year in college and then you're ready to lead an NBA team. No, you're not. You're 19, bro. And I get it. NBA right now, let's do it. You start young, you save your career, you get paid now. I get it. But you're not ready.
Yeah. It's that meme where it's, I don't think you have the facilities for that, big man.
For that big man.
Yeah, and when we're talking about some of these teams, right, they're drafting some of these guys. These guys average 6 points in college. These guys ain't ready. They're
But
not.
he's a defensive stud. Don't worry, guys. His shot's gonna develop. Is it? Did it? Will it?
We've seen
How do we
picks
know?
falter.
How about this? How about instead of saying his shot will develop in a couple years, let's see if it does first before we draft the guy. How about that? How about, oh no, we'll teach him NBA defense. What?
How about he learn that shit before he gets
How about
it?
he learns what a 3-2 zone is first, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
How about he'll play in a national title game, or at least in a Final Four, before we draft him, and say go win a playoff game for us. Let's see how he does in a high pressure situation before we draft him.
You know, overall, tanking's not good, and some of these teams, they fuck up their own shit. They're trying to get good, and then they fuck it up again because they're like, oh, I don't have time to wait. But then you try to do the process over again like an idiot. That's like me trying to pour milk into a bowl, right? And then I miss the bowl just a little bit. A little splash dips outside of the bowl, and I'm like, gotta start all over again. Pour all the milk out the bowl. The tiniest splash. I gotta do it again. You're close. You're trying to get there. You're trying to push to something. Try and push. And I get it, you're going to be bad. But at least you can say to the league, listen, our team's not there yet. But we're playing these guys. We're giving these guys minutes, meaningful minutes. We're not sitting anybody. We're not resting anybody for no reason. We're not actively trying to play more people than others. Play your guys and have them develop. And if you're going to be bad, have them develop in NBA games. Be bad for those 2-3 years. Be bad. Be real bad. You could be fucking super shit. But as long as you aren't trying to intentionally get better draft position, you're going to get better draft position. You're awful. Just naturally be awful instead of manufacturing awfulness. Because we know you're bad. Stop trying to get a fucking extra loss. That's just not going to help. And we've seen teams with the highest overall odds to get the lottery. Shit don't work. You get 5th. You get 6th. You know how many times I've seen the Pistons with the 5th pick, 6th pick, 7th pick, 8th pick, the Bulls, 10th pick, 9th pick, 11th pick, 12th pick, every single fucking year. They have never gotten the first overall pick. Still trying. And even then with the first overall pick, you're not guaranteed shit. So just try to win. Try. Because if you're going to naturally suck, just naturally suck. Play your young guys. See who you got on your roster. Just play these guys. Play some veterans too. Split time. I don't give a fuck. If you're going to be bad, just be bad. Don't give me this whole bullshit. Oh, I mean, draft position, and we end to play. Fuck that. You're not guaranteed shit in life. Not guaranteed nothing. I don't get it. Just be naturally bad. Like a lot of NFL teams, they're just naturally bad. And then the last 2 games of the season, they're like, you know what? Let's stink it up more.